How's it going, everyone? It's your boy Dak908, aka the Dig Dug himself, and today, guys, we're looking at the Pukei-Pukei. Now, if you guys remember, you should. He was available in the beta, 2 betas. He was rumored to be in the first beta, but he was definitely there for the second and the third beta. Now, as always, we're skipping to the fight for the preservation of time simply because, well, this is when I was first starting to play the game, and this is when the game is at its full capacity, meaning it's the full game, so the monsters aren't necessarily exactly in the same spots where they were when we fought them in the beta. So, with that being said, moving over, now let's talk about the Pukei-Pukei. Now, he's a very interesting monster, bird wyvern. A lot of people seem to get it misunderstood, but he is indeed a bird wyvern. He reminds a lot of people of Chameleos because Chameleos, well, he's chameleon in the name, but he's actually more along the lines of a wood gecko, whereas Pukei-Pukei is definitely more chameleon in name. Now, granted, he does not actually go invisible or blend into his environment. He does have a very nice plumage, though, very colorful. He is a poison spitting monster very similar to that of Chameleos, and truth be told, that's exactly where the similarities stop. I mean, that's pretty much it. They tend to have a couple of simple characteristics between a wood gecko and then a chameleon. The fact they can move their eyes independently, they have very long tongues that they can use for any different method of attack, and so on and so forth. But honestly, that's where their connection stops right there. But as it stands, Pukei-Pukei is a very interesting monster, like really fun to actually fight. If you look at him and you think he kind of reminds me of Kezu, well, you're not totally wrong. I mean, his body type is very similar to that of a Kezu. I mean, honestly, it's very similar to a Kezu. And the fact that they both actually spit poison, oh, excuse me, they don't spit poison, I'm thinking of Giganox here, but the fact that both of their, both have attacks where they stretch appendages to do damage to you is interesting indeed. Now, the spitting poison for the Pukei-Pukei is a little interesting. He will spit poison naturally, but he will also like to fly. He won't fly away. He would look like he's about to fly away, but he would actually fly just high enough to reach the branches of certain trees to eat scatter nuts. Now, once he eats a bunch of scatter nuts, his face and his tail will become swollen. You might see the handler speak something on it on the side when you first fight it or whatever, or even after you fight it a couple of times or whatever, because they tend to really egg on the fact they want to help you out as hunters, but whatever, it's their design choice. We're not going to talk about that. Regardless, once he eats these scatter nuts, he will go into not like an overdrive mode, but he is definitely going to spit out that poison more frequently, and he will be able to do it from his tail this time around. Now, honestly, I'm not gonna lie to you, I'm not gonna say I'm so good, but usually whenever that happens, I take note that it's going to happen, and I put the serious work on him quickly to the point where the swelling of his body actually goes down. Similar to that if you were to fight a great Joggerich and he were to eat a whole Aptonoff, and then you put so much damage on him so quickly that for whatever reason he just like deflates. The same thing can happen to Pukei-Pukei. So if you see him eat the scatter nuts, stay on the offensive, do as much damage to him as you can, so that way he doesn't spit poison at you from either orifice. Now, with that kind of thing being out the way, let's move over to some of his interesting things, some of the stuff you guys probably want to know, like his weaknesses and whatnot. Now, his number one weakness is that of thunder, and he's very resilient to that of water. And truth be told, as it stands, literally right now in this game, you probably don't have either. If you're fighting for the first time, or maybe you're trying to grind him out, you probably don't have either of these things. So just use a particularly good raw weapon that you probably would have. I also would recommend kool. It's exactly what I'm using in this video right here, because his weapons, like I made in the video before, they have a plus 15 to affinity, so that's actually a higher critical hit chance from before than no critical hit chance at all. So it's pretty good. So I would run something that you're really comfortable with just to fight him. I mean, any weapon will really do. He's not a very extensively difficult monster to actually fight. He's pretty much very straightforward. He's not too bad in terms of a beginner fight. The one thing you must really note though is his poison. Now let's look at some of his, well, let's look at his armor, if you will. So Pukei-Pukei armor is actually not that bad. I mean, it's pretty solid. I actually wanted to use it a little longer than the way in which I normally do my videos, where I make one particular set of armor for every monster that I fight, especially the new ones. The older ones not so much, but regardless, his skills are poison resistance. All these are level 1 skills, mind you. Poison resistance reduces the duration of poison by 30% if you were to let the poison go out naturally. Poison will eventually wear off, but this reduces that by 30%, making it to where it leaves your body quicker, so that's nice. Poison attack. It actually increases the poison buildup by 5% and a bonus 10 points to your poison element, ability, status, whatever. So if your weapon has 200 poison, it's going to get 210, so to speak. The poison buildup, though, A monster does actually build resistances to ailments, but the poison buildup increases that cap that they actually have to where they reach the maximum. So if the maximum buildup is, let's say, 200, poison attack +1 makes it 205. You know, so they can actually still get hit with more poison before they cap out at their full resistance. Granted, they will still always get poison, which is just take a lot longer. Now, Item Prolonger increases item effect duration by 10%. So items like Might Seeds, you know, anything that increases your anything, honestly, will actually last a little bit longer. So like Dash Juice, Might Seed, Demon Drug, Adamant Seed, etc. You know, things like that. Botanist. This is actually a really good skill. Increases the quantity of herbs and other consumable items you gather. So let's say if you're on a gathering quest, or you just say, you know what, I'm going on expedition, I'm just going to gather some stuff. Run this so that way you can actually get 1 extra herb every time you gather. So that way, instead of picking up the usual 2, you'll pick up 3. So you'll make like 50% more potions faster, so to speak. So you pick up 3 herb, and that's like, if you pick up 3 herbs from 3 different gathering spots, that's 9 herb. That's a lot of potions. That's like 4 potions right there. So I mean, it's really cool, especially when you get to the later levels. Now, lastly, we're looking at Spore Puff Expert. Now, Spore Puffs, if you guys don't understand, they're usually in the area where we fight Pukei-Pukei the first time. I cannot remember the area. I think it's area 6 or something like that. But when you hit them, they throw this shroud up, and you can actually be invisible in it. If you stand around in it, monsters will not be able to see you. And usually that's their main focus, but if you have Spore Puff Expert, it'll heal you as well, so that's actually really cool. Again, once you get to the later levels, it'll heal you for much more health. But those are pretty much his skills right there. His weapons, almost all of his weapons will give you some nice poison, and truth be told, I mean, this early on, to get a status like poison is actually very strong. And every time you were to poison a monster, it does not necessarily like super good damage, but it does pretty decent amount of damage. I mean, if you were to put the damage indicators, the numbers or whatever, it would do roughly anywhere between like 7 to 10 damage for like every second that it's actually on the monster. Those are numbers I've been able to actually observe exactly how much that actually is in correlation to the monster's main health, because this is all done on percentages. I don't necessarily know the fact too. It's just the fact that it's still doing damage over time, and it's really good to actually have this something this good early on, especially when you get to fighting monsters a little bit later. But with that being said, everyone, that's pretty much all I have for you guys in terms of Pukei-Pukei and things really to note. I mean, right off the rip anyway. Granted, again, I say granted a lot this video. We will be doing a extremely deep and detailed breakdown of the Pukei-Pukei, just not right now. I'm going to let everyone know that there are going to be more detailed videos later. It's just the fact that I'm already behind on these videos, so I kind of want to get these videos out to you guys as quick as I can with relatively decent good information, so that way you can actually combat the monster and even still understand what he has to offer and things like that. So thank you guys for understanding so much. I greatly appreciate it, and I will see you on the next video. And always, yo, take care. I recommend this guy's stuff. Get his stuff for sure. Get his stuff. You will like it, promise. Anyway, take care.